I know.
Now you can do it.
Okay.
Call it to order at 5:33.
Okay. Oh.
First item, approved last
4 months of minutes.
4 months of minutes.
I don't know, I did send out, last meeting minutes too, so I don't know if you guys all had a chance to review all those minutes or not.
I'm sharing my screen, I should probably see them.
Yeah, what is today?
I missed the last 2 meetings, I believe, so
No, you were at the last meeting, 'cause that's when you offered to be,
she wasn't here. You'd
virtually
I just,
offered.
Yeah, I just,
were you
I wasn't at the
online?
meeting, no, I think I just emailed the group and said I'll be.
Oh, okay.
And I actually was thinking about that tonight. Did I dream that, or did I offer that?
I know you offered it, 'cause I was very excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me.
And somebody else is taking them tonight, though? You're
Yeah,
taking
I
them? Okay.
will, yeah. Virtually, Jeremy,
So I suppose I'll make a motion to approve
okay.
the minutes as submitted.
I will second.
Okay. Is this for all of them, or are we gonna individually?
I skimmed through all of them and they looked good to me.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on any of them, or anything? Okay. All right.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Next item is an update on resort tax expenditures and revenues. We have something like that.
Lonnie had sent them over, and
I don't think,
Tom usually gives us that update, 'cause she sends it over with his little graphs and stuff like that, but if we wanna, Dave, did you have any?
I did not have a chance to plug into my graphs and get it updated in the thing, and I figured we could, there's not a huge change from last month, so I figured we could do that next time. Unless you guys have anything significant on it.
No.
no, we can move past that one.
Okay.
All right, our big meaty item, the 5-year review of resort tax ordinance.
Yes.
We have that up on the screen now.
You guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tom had made some, great changes. Thank you, Tom, for doing that. And then Lonnie and Danae had gone through today, and they added comments, for us to, consider or clarify as we're going through these. So I just kind of wanted to go through it, and we can make, see the changes that were made, were there other changes that we wanted to make, and, take city staff's recommendations, I guess, into account on these, so.
Yeah, I think that would be great. What I think would be helpful is probably 2 things, is make sure that I didn't, unintentionally eliminate something or just, make something less clear. And then there's obviously some points that need to be clarified. So we could work on that too a little bit. Sorry, my phone's telling me.
So, go ahead.
Do we want to start at the top and just kind of work through it?
Can you make that bigger, Chris, so that that's actually legible over there?
What's legible over where?
I can read ordinance.
Ordinance.
If you could make the whereas, if you can zoom in so it's as big as where, there you go.
Let's see.
Change it.
There we go.
You can, but then you'll either not see if anybody else joins or it's covering up part of it.
Oh,
So I can go to full screen and minimize those if that's your preference.
just for right now, yeah.
I think we,
Okay.
If somebody joins.
There's not that many changes, really.
Actually, what can happen is if,
Perfect.
you who are in the meeting, if you see anybody else join in the participants list, you can kind of
Okay.
let us know. Or, and monitor the comments also. But now you're not getting the comments on the side either, so.
Oh,
well, I can pull them over like this to show any changes.
Okay.
I think you can unzoom it a little bit now, just because it is so much bigger.
Make up your mind.
You changed orange.
I know.
Make it 2% bigger.
Something more like 1.2%.
That's exactly what I did. I put it down 1.2%.
Right. So, so this will be the second amended, is that right? That's what was changed there?
So this was originally, signed when?
2020.
2021,
Yeah.
12th day of October, 2021. Okay.
So the first proposed change is down in 243E, right? Resort tax imposed.
Yes, we didn't change anything there. I had one, addition for this section, and that would be to put in, under number 3, put in, dispensaries. Or maybe put that in a separate line item. I know it was added further down, but when this was
Yeah.
passed, we didn't have any dispensaries, so.
Yeah.
I think 3 is a good logical spot.
Okay.
Well,
Or just put it as a separate line
I would put
item?
it as a separate line, just because.
Should I make it-
All alcohol.
Okay, cannabis dispensaries, or marijuana dispensaries, I think they call
Yeah.
them. And then I will make that the same color.
Of the words that you're supposed to know how to spell.
Yeah.
Oh, did I not? Marijuana? Is that not right?
UA, not EU.
Oh.
I guess you and the app are having a disagreement.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that we added short-term rentals, that makes logical sense.
Yep.
Golf courses, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's towards the end.
Oh, you know what? I don't have tracking on here. Hang on a second. Where do I do that?
I did, it was kind of, the list before was a little bit odd about what was listed and what wasn't listed, which was some of the logic that I was using to say, all right, here's the businesses that basically everything is taxed, right? And then here's all the things that are taxed. And any business that sells these things is also subject to the tax. Because before, it actually, if you ran something that wasn't listed before, technically like a marijuana dispensary, you probably could have argued that you weren't supposed to be taxed. So I think this is clear. So hopefully we got what we needed to.
Is there an all-encompassing one at the end? Or,
And all encompassing.
Yes, any business that sells luxuries is the all-encompassing one. So if you sell,
We can make it.
and I'm just listening. I can't see your screen, just so you guys know. So
all right, your
I'm
memory's really good, you remember.
yeah, I apologize. I was supposed to leave a half an hour earlier than I left, but my ride was delayed, so that's why I thought I was going to be to my hotel by now, but I wasn't.
Well, that's
Show suggested edits, and then,
Well, I want to, sorry, I'm having technical difficulties.
I don't know how it does this in.
This is why I had you run it, not
review
me.
suggested edits, no?
Because like on mine, it won't show the edits, but, 'cause this is the app, but I just do suggest changes, and then it will show, like, because the edits that I put in here are down.
Where are you doing it?
This is, on this, it says suggest changes, and I just turn that on. But you have, you want to accept it.
Show suggested edits.
Isn't that what the colors are? It's,
Yeah, but hers, when she's making the changes, aren't showing the colors.
Is it this?
is there,
Oh,
you
here.
go like, turn on tracking?
There you
There you
go.
go.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
sorry. Let's see. I want.
There you go.
Okay.
Number 10 kind of covers everything else, businesses that sell.
I heard a comment that said it's gonna be luxuries or it's gonna be luxury items. But you can have luxury services, is it luxury services and items?
Yeah.
Just to make sure it encompasses both?
Yeah, if you're a fly fishing outfitter and you know, someone hires you in town,
Luxury services
then,
and items.
yeah, that would
That
be,
would fully cover
So-
everything.
yeah.
Can I just make a comment there? You know, one of the things I wasn't sure of, and there was a piece of research I didn't do, is in the definitions, it says luxuries are defined by Montana law. But we might wanna, on the top, repeat that. Like, define my Montana law as, and then list what the Montana law defines it, just to make things clear, because we don't actually have the definition of luxuries in the ordinance.
Luxuries, right here. Any
Well,
gift item?
Yeah.
Do we want to do that for all of them then, like medical supplies and medicine?
No, that would be a non-luxury, right?
Well, it's in the same section.
It's under definitions, because there's gonna be another spot, like under marijuana dispensaries, where medical supplies are exempt. So medical marijuana is exempt.
Which was,
We don't put a resort tax on medical marijuana.
I think we've retained that.
I think I understand what you're asking her, and I think it's just the reason I think we should add luxuries is just because it's key to the ordinance. Those other ones aren't necessarily key to the ordinance. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Do we want to separate these then? Put luxuries in its own section and then medical supplies and medicine
And I
underneath
think
that?
So it's weird that they're in the.
Yeah.
section.
so.
And is it the same then, defined in the medical supplies and medicine?
Yeah.
Do you want to put that in there?
If you do one, I mean, it's not that hard to just add the other two.
Just means that if it changes in the Montana code, we're gonna have to change it here too. So, like, I feel like if we reference Montana code, we don't need to put it in there, but that's just my,
I am with you on that, because then if
it's just,
yeah.
it just becomes a lot more, you know, it's
Yeah.
basically like
You-
what we're doing.
You know what we could do is we could not put it in the ordinance, but then when we like PDF the ordinance, we could PDF also include the definition of luxuries in the, as kind of like at the end, just so someone doesn't have to go look at the definition of luxuries to understand the ordinance.
Okay.
So should we
I
just go
don't-
back to where we were?
Sorry.
Well, I like having the definition of luxury in this, because I agree, Tom, I think it's very pertinent to the whole thing. I mean, what's a luxury? What are we,
Well,
but,
so the MCA looks very similar already to what we have in the ordinance. Do we want to just repeat it? Or you just want to say luxuries, medical supplies, and medicine, which is sections in the MCA, are defined in MCA, and just leave it at that?
yeah.
But since we're specifically taxing luxuries, I think there's some value in having the definition in there.
You know, I like how they, define luxuries as a luxury item.
Great,
You're not supposed to do
not
that.
circular at all.
Do they include services or include it someplace else?
Any guest item, luxury item, or other item normally sold to the public. An item could also be like a trip. I mean, it doesn't have, or a service could be an item, you know, that you, it's something you sell. So, I mean, we could add item or service,
Or-
normally sold to the public, tickets.
Yeah, which includes, well, the reason I ask, because there are some things like the buses, tours, that's fundraising, or the roadies.
Well,
There are
that's-
some things that are a little bit different.
Yeah, but that's also down later when we actually
Yeah,
get to the
nonprofit.
nitty gritty of those tickets and things like that.
So, do we reference medical supplies and medicine anywhere else in the ordinance?
Just under medical marijuana. Well, it's also exempt under,
Was it under
In our
243?
In this ordinance or in
In
the,
this ordinance?
well,
If we don't, why would we even have the definition in there?
I think the only place is when we exempted medical marijuana. There's medical, you know, medicine. Supplies and it's also, and we also exempted it, you know.
Yeah.
too, so,
I'm just thinking the medical supplies and medicine,
I mean, it's pretty
just
self-explanatory.
take it out.
Just take it out, yeah,
We're not dealing in that.
no,
Just take out this whole medical supplies and medicine,
yeah.
that,
what I would
that
want.
section there?
I mean, it's pretty, I mean,
Luxuries are what we're taxing.
yeah, and the way we did it before, we tried to clean it up the last time, where we weren't having to say that this is exempt, this is exempt.
Right.
You know, it's like, we went more the other way, these are taxed, and if it's not taxed, then it's exempt. So, we found, the last time we did this, 5 years ago. It's been that long.
Yeah, I kinda like, it's just, it makes more logical sense to just go luxuries, resort tax, capital, you know.
Yeah,
And this all turned green because I didn't left justified instead of,
Okay.
what do you call it? What do you call it?
it was formatting, not content change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, word.
okay, I know, okay. All right, that looks good.
Okay, and then we added, where are we?
Down here, we're going back to 243.
Yep.
This looks good.
Golf courses, arcades and stuff.
Yeah.
Businesses that sell luxury services and items, great.
Rate of tax, 3%. Duration is 25 years.
We hope by 2045, and
When do we think when the project for which the 1% was designated will be completed and paid in full? Do we have any idea when that will happen?
It's quite a ways down the road. I
Is
think
it?
15 or 20 years.
Okay. Still about the same time then. 2045, okay, who is gonna take bets on who's still alive then?
It's not that far away.
I'll be almost 80.
I'm like, 45,
I
like,
hope we'll all be alive.
yeah, I'm like, it's only like, what,
It's like 20 years away, I'm like.
How much faith do you have in the civilization?
I know, right?
will we want to be alive? or-
Yeah, I know, right? That's the other question.
Or who sells items subject to the tax.
So that way it's a little bit more broad instead of just business owners,
Okay,
I'm guessing.
so, right, okay.
Same thing in 244,
Okay,
Mhm.
those items.
these shall be taxed.
And we can chop out that part.
Yeah, that resale.
Yeah, we talk about that later in the exemption.
Yeah, because we repeated that exempt sales for resale. We had tons of places where we repeated this except items, and so I moved it all down to the exemption section.
Okay.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense.
And do we need to say in luxuries shall mean any gift item luxury since we have it up above in the definitions?
Yeah, but here we actually clarified luxury is like sold to the public or to transient visitors or tourists. Aren't they public?
Wouldn't that be, so isn't the purpose of definition so you can say it once and not have to spell it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then- but it
exactly.
seems like we
So maybe
changed the
there's some stuff
definition.
there that you,
I think you just strike that
Do
whole
we-
sentence.
I mean,
Can we add something there that we
relocate?
don't have in the other one?
I think everything's included.
I think we can probably then just delete
Strike that sentence.
this one up here.
What you could do is, oh yeah, so you've already got it up there. I was gonna say you could add, I'm trying to scroll through, which of course I can't do. You could add it just to say shall include get gift items, or items normally sold to public or transient visitor, and then go into that other list.
Yeah, you could even just start with the term luxury shall include da-da-da-da-da.
Here or up above?
So right where you are there, all luxuries shall be taxed. The term luxury shall include blah blah, colon, and then we take this gift items and other things and just put it down in the list of items. So then at least it's getting included. We're just being consistent that way.
So, any gift item. Like that?
And we can make it clean it up later, but yes, that's the theory.
Okay.
You delete mean as well in that first paragraph.
Okay, so all luxuries shall be taxed.
And luxury
Shall
include.
include, so I can just put a period here,
Yeah, the term luxury.
delete that.
Did include all vaping products. It makes sense to get rid of the deli and baking items with the exception of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so, but Lonnie had a question up here, Danae and Lonnie did. They showed up as anonymous, so that's why that's them. So where they said the removal of deli and bakery items with the exception of loaves of bread and sliced meat and cheeses removes the exception for the farmer's market to collect tax on their items unless intended for immediate consumption. And because so you're saying that, are we saying that deli and bakery items aren't taxed?
No, because they're included their deli and bakery items would be immediate consumption items.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that's because it was repetitive is what
Oh,
what was
okay.
intended. So, because, they're exempting bread and meat, but like if
But-
you're going to buy chicken wings, at the deli,
Right,
that's
so,
immediate consumption.
but
Like a
they don't,
restaurant food.
right, so I think they just want to make sure that we're not gonna start taxing bread
No.
at the farmer's market, because it could be considered for immediate consumption.
Goes against previous conversations that determined that all items sold at farmer's market were taxable. I don't think that's true. I don't know what
No,
farmer's market is doing.
no, but they are selling, but if it's, bread that's been sliced and like
Like
different,
sandwiches or whatever.
Right, or the breads that are like, have like melted cheese in them and jalapenos, you know, those types of things are taxed now. So,
Right, they have
Yeah,
been.
can you
Yeah.
scroll down to the exceptions part?
Yeah.
Just a quick look here. So um, I think it's, the exception is unprepared food items. And, um, you know, depending on how definitive we want to get with that becomes a little bit challenging, right? Like, so, and if you think about like bakery items, if you go to the grocery store, they've got this whole section of bakery items. And what is a bakery item, right? So it's just really not really very clear. We've given it clarity over time, but that that line didn't appear to me to provide any clarity.
okay.
But what is the difference if I buy a piece of fried chicken at the grocery store versus if I buy a piece of chicken at the, fried chicken at the, I mean, they sell pizzas and cakes and cookies, somebody could sell fried chicken there, so I'm just using that as a
It would
item.
be taxed either way. Because it's prepared food,
Okay.
yes. Right,
Something that would be weird would be like an apple, you know?
Yeah.
It's ready to eat, but it's not prepared,
yeah.
so.
So, but Danae had gotten a lot of pushback from some people at the farmer's market because they sell fresh baked bread. And it's more of a pastry than it, you know, I mean, because it's got all this other stuff added to it. It was kind of like so I think they were just saying, just collect the tax. Because it's, you know, it's prepared food that can be eaten.
Mm.
It's kind of a specialty type item. So that's where she was saying,
It's-
you know, it was
It's
all
a
taxed.
difference. It's the difference between a pizza at the IGA and a pizza at the pizza company. If you get a frozen pizza at the IGA, it's not ready to eat. If you get a pizza at the pizza company, it's ready to eat. Like it really, we have to come back to that ready to eat definition,
Right.
right? Yes,
But
the
sandwich bread is, regular bread's ready to eat, but
You're not gonna eat the whole loaf.
you're not gonna eat it, yeah.
Yeah.
so is the box of Cheerios at the IGA, but
Yeah.
that's not taxed,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
Right.
yeah. Okay,
I think with all these bullet points, we should ask, you know, is it clarifying or is it confusing? And I
right,
think that deli and bakery items, blah, 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 is just.
It's
more
just confusing, yeah.
than-
okay. All right, well, and maybe, Danae or Lonnie maybe Danae can come to our next meeting and we can kind of make sure everything that we're doing is she on board with, and, you know, staff is on board with and can understand what we're trying to say. And if we need to change the wording, then we can, so. Okay. So, go back up to the, because we wanted to make sure, she had some comments in here.
I don't think there's anything.
It was more about the nonprofits and, like, being exempt
Right
for.
here, nonprofits, okay.
Yeah, this is it.
So this is under records and tax forms.
Oh, I think she was still typing, but it just kept going down. It was still up, had to do with what we were just talking about, but the comments are getting pushed down.
Where is it?
So the food, beverages, and rental fees sold by
Yeah,
that one.
That one?
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, so these things here, like you deleted a paragraph and moved from the, our comments are taking up more space than our ordinance,
okay.
where they're not aligned, I guess is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. So yeah, here she is. Are we exempting, tickets only or all items with?
Sorry, okay. All right, I'm stopping.
Okay, so nonprofits, are we exempting tickets only or all items sold, including food and merchandise, for example, that are intended for fundraising purposes? Buses of Yellowstone fundraises through selling food, and they also sell hats, shirts that have buses of Yellowstone on them, which are considered taxable items. So, we always said if it's in their normal course of business, it has to be taxed, right? Like the Elks sells alcohol in their normal course of business. They don't just have a fundraiser once a year where they open up the bar.
I can tell you practically speaking that we exclude the tickets for the Buses of Yellowstone because that is a fundraising activity.
Right,
And that was after talking to Tom and this group, if my recollection was
Right.
right.
yep.
I don't recall a conversation about T-shirts and other things.
Right, and right now, they are taxing their T-shirts, it sounds like.
Well, and that would also fall under, isn't there a line in here that talks about T-shirts that are branded with Montana or
Right.
whatever? So I think that would fall under that too.
Okay.
Well, and in the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary, to take another example, they don't take resort tax out of their ticket entry sales, but they do in the gift shop.
Yeah, okay, and that was one, I think, one of the things that came up in that previous conversation too, for consistency across. So we just need to make sure that that's what it says here.
Okay. So,
I feel like this bullet, though, isn't very,
Tickets sold for the benefit of nonprofit organizations. I thought when we did the business registration ordinance, didn't we say nonprofits are exempt from?
we didn't say resort tax, we said they're exempt from, the,
can you scroll up, I think?
This way?
Yeah, this one right here, this last bullet.
look, on the city website.
Food and beverages.
Yeah.
You don't want that one.
Well, it's not like how,
So that should be, that is a luxury.
well, when renting their facilities, to public and/or non-members.
So it's
Right.
basically saying that these things need, like, they might not be taxed if the nonprofit was running it, but they will be taxed if someone's using that facility.
Right. Right, because Roosevelt Center
Yeah,
have
that makes
Rent out
sense to me.
their stuff all
Yeah.
the time, so.
I definitely think the nonprofit exemption is a little challenging, just overall, because, like trying to figure out what benefits the nonprofit and what is normal course of business. And there's always going to be, just coming back to like the bread example, when should bread be taxed and not taxed? And we may not ever get to 100% full clarity on this. And I think we just have to be okay with that. And you kind of have to make it so that it makes sense, and hopefully people do it right, and, that it works as best as we can get to.
Well, if I may, it does have to be decided and articulated, and if it's not articulated here, then it has to be articulated by the mayor at a later time, who writes a letter of, so if that's the case, save us from that. Right now, that process still exists because there's gonna be some things that we didn't think of. But like on the entrance to the YWS, or things for Buses of Yellowstone, we can say, activities for fundraising, however, this doesn't apply to branded stuff which is covered elsewhere.
Right.
And so any place there's something like that, I mean, we have a list of all of the decisions that have had to have been offered before. At a very minimum, we ought to codify those.
Well, all we did in the resolution for the fees is we made it that all nonprofits, regardless of items sold, are in tier one, so it's $100 for their business license. Because
We didn't address resort taxing.
we did not, but we had talked about it here, and what we said was that if they have a bake sale as a fundraiser, they shouldn't have to get a bond and collect resort tax on a once-a-year bake sale type of thing.
I guess my
So we
problem-
wanted to make sure that was in there, because that's a fundraising, regardless of what they're selling or what they're doing, it's a fundraiser. It's not in their normal course of business, it's a fundraiser.
So, I guess the part I don't like about this last bullet is that it's more of an exemption definition. So, I would almost say, can we change it to read something like any luxury or service mentioned above, or just any luxury or service, provided by a nonprofit in a non-fundraising capacity, or something like that?
Yeah. See,
When is a nonprofit not fund, you know,
Right.
why, you know, that's why I say it's a little, and I agree with you that that's more, we're trying to provide an exception to the exemption in the taxation. So it's almost like a double
Right.
negative in a sense.
Yeah.
And maybe and this would be a double negative too. If you went down to the exemptions, you would say food and, you know, all items sold by nonprofit organizations, except when they are renting the facilities to the public and or non-members, you know, or yeah, this is a conundrum, and I thought about this for a while. It's just hard to figure out how to list this and write this in the way that we're talking about, because what we're trying to say is that, you know, we don't think we should charge concessions at the high school football games, and we probably don't expect when you buy a Rams t-shirt at the school to pay, but you know, we do want you to pay for a Yellowstone t-shirt because at the wildlife sanctuary, because it's focused towards tourists, but you shouldn't, but the Elks should charge for alcohol, pay on their alcohol that they sell, because they're competing with the business down the street that has to pay it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's complicated.
it is, it really is. I liked how we had that schools were just exempt, period, regardless of what they're doing. You know, because we had that in there.
It is in there.
Yeah, it is in there, so, and then I do like just clarifying that if you're selling, that tickets for nonprofits, unless it's, is exempt. You know, if you're selling tickets to a nonprofit event, it's exempt. And anything else you sell, you know, that's not in your normal course of business has to be taxed.
If that's the case, then food, beverages, and the rental fees are already listed above, so we could just strike that bullet altogether, because then the
but
exemptions are
usually-
listed below.
Usually the tickets are taxed, but if a nonprofit is selling tickets, like the Beartooth Ball,
Yeah,
or,
So that would go in.
it's
that would
in
be
the,
an
yeah, and it is in
exception,
the exceptions.
Yeah.
It is in the exceptions. So is it saying food and beverages and rental fees sold by nonprofits, organizations, and renting facilities to the public and non-members
yeah.
is just repeating everything that was already
Right.
above,
But we
and the
need,
exemptions that are below.
but we need to add other fundraising activities or events, you know, that it's not,
It's in there.
It's like-
Concessions for
oh, okay.
those exemptions are in there.
Are they? Okay,
I think so.
so,
I almost wanted to just get rid of that bullet, maybe.
okay.
Which ones?
Very, this
This
one
one?
that's highlighted.
Okay.
Bullet.
Just delete it?
So if that St. Agnes Church has a craft fair, everyone there that's selling their items still has to collect resort tax because they're the business that's profiting from it. St. Agnes is just selling the booth space and facilitating the stuff, and they don't have to collect resort tax
Correct.
on those booth fees that they're charging. But every business that's there has to collect resort tax and pay it.
Well, just like a farmer's market.
Right, exactly. That's an example, yeah. But if it's St. Agnes that does, or the Finnish ladies that do a bake sale, or the flower ladies that do the flower sale once a year, they don't have to collect resort tax because that's a fundraising event for their
We don't have
nonprofit.
fundraising event for nonprofit in exemptions,
That might be
the ad.
the ad, yeah.
Okay,
So just a bullet in the exemptions that say fundraising events for nonprofit.
okay.
Or even goods sold as
Fundraising,
fundraising events and goods sold in such an event.
No, but go down here in
Yeah.
exemptions.
oh, sorry,
Yeah,
thank you.
sorry.
What did I just do? Ah.
But that would take care of the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary and the buses to Yellowstone. All of their tickets they sell or entrance fees that they sell are all exempt. But if they sell goods from the gift shop or a T-shirt, they have to pay resort tax. And now the Roman Theater is now a nonprofit, so their ticket sales will also be exempt. But any candy sales they sell will have to have the resort tax collected.
Well, we could do just like we did at the school exemption and just say, for the nonprofit one, including concessions for fundraising as well. Right? Maybe that.
Fundraising events, including concessions.
No, like make it modeled like, just like the school one above it. But the school and school events, including concessions for fundraising, you could say fundraising for nonprofit organizations, including concessions for fundraising. I feel like that captures it pretty well.
Yeah.
I feel like we captured it last time pretty well, and then
Tom, what do you think? Is that more clear?
Take out the for fundraising at the fundraising for nonprofit organizations, including concessions for fundraising. So just take out, including concessions, period. Or just including concessions. And I think maybe what's, we were going to take out the last bullet at the top, in the section above that says food and beverages and rental fees sold by nonprofit organizations when renting the facilities to non-members. So that
That can go.
Bye.
so that way, like, alcohol at the Elks would still be covered because it's not a fundraising event.
Right. I mean, I guess if they want to get, when they do their special fundraising events like the St. Patrick's Day, it'd be more of a pain to separate out those alcohol sales, but,
Or if like the community foundation sold, rented out the Roosevelt for a concert,
yeah.
and the concert's a for-profit thing, then it's just, there's no tax on the rental part, but there is tax on the tickets for the concert.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. It's like, so let's say the Roosevelt Center decides to do a concert that's to benefit them, then there's no tax on those tickets, right? But if they rent their facility to, a group that puts on a concert to make money, then those tickets are taxed. So that's, I think, it's so hard because we do so much nonprofit work in our community.
Pretty much every business in town could be a nonprofit. Just kidding.
Nonprofit and unprofitable.
That's true story. If we're moving down to payment of tax, I was not tracking changes, and that first sentence, number 1, we may just need to look at it and make it sure it made sense. There's a lot of kind of just of the day following the month at the end of the quarter, and then just make sure that it reads clearly. And maybe we just need to say calendar quarter, period, and get rid of January, April. The taxes collected by the business any month.
Having that delineated.
I think it's good to have that in there. People,
Okay.
unless they're like,
It looks good to me.
I always have to
Okay.
count January, February, March, it's April, so it's fair. Okay.
It belabors the point a little, but not bad.
Yeah. And this is where also we were talking about adding an exemption for, city staff or the mayor to possibly waive a penalty, for the late fees.
Wasn't that, I thought I
That-
heard
So,
That's down there later. Can we
Okay.
come, there's a question on, and we'll get to reporting and it's the same piece, but I think it comes a little bit later.
okay,
Yeah, that was addressed in.
yep.
So
And I like how-
the question here is this: all forms must be filled out completely. I will contend that when it says that they have to report their resort tax on a form provided by the city, that they have to fill out the form. And if it's the form says they have to report monthly, then they have to report monthly. I don't know if we want to add that in there additionally, but we can say all forms must be filled out completely and businesses must report resort tax revenue on a monthly basis or something like that. It's kind of extra, but at least we'll be clear.
I would say if that's the intent, that it should be in the ordinance rather than relying on the form itself.
I agree. So we need to put that in there.
Yeah, just after all forms must be filled out completely, say businesses must report
Monthly.
resort tax collections,
I feel like these two things,
must record.
forms of confidentiality should be two separate. We should have an A, B, and C. Forms,
Sure.
confidentiality, preservation of records.
Yeah, I agree.
It just seems like there's two things going on in there, so, so it would be.
And then you wanted to add, after all forms must be filled out completely at the end of every month, or what was the wording?
Well, the form right now has, 3 months, but it doesn't, people can fill out what they have, the totals just for the quarter, instead of doing it month by month, but we want to
has,
know
like,
month by month.
It has first month, second month, third month, and then total is what it has.
Yeah,
How about all forms must be filled out completely with monthly reporting?
Monthly reporting of revenue,
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
yeah, maybe just monthly reporting because it's revenue, and maybe it's with monthly reporting,
of revenue and, revenue and.
and collections,
Crude-
monthly
crude
reporting of
tax.
revenue and,
We just don't want them to think they have to report every month. It's like, you can do the quarterly report, but you have to fill out the monthly column on there.
What's the difference between,
No, so let's pause, because maybe I'm hearing something different. So, Tom, are you saying that every month you want them to turn in their numbers monthly?
No.
Or are you saying that when they turn in their quarterly, it includes monthly breakdown?
Yes,
second one.
Could we-
Okay, so there we go, so that's what it needs to say. So it needs to, include the report, comment, including monthly breakdown.
So, and I added quarterly remittance
Yeah, that,
to the
that's
city of
clear.
resort tax shall be tabulated and accounted for on forms prescribed. All forms must be filled out completely, and sorry, what did you say?
Including monthly breakdown.
Including monthly
resort tax collected.
Well, because the answer is what we want to do is we want to be able to draw a graph of sales trends for the year, right?
Exactly, yep.
And we understand we may not be able to do that for 3 months.
You pretty much know it goes July, December, August.
yeah, that's about it.
September,
About as
June.
expensive as you can get.
May, October.
So just, it needs to include monthly breakdown.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay,
And the reason I say that rather than just going to the form is because I can tell you firsthand that we've tripped across a half a dozen different forms that a staff person has taken it upon themselves to go through and modify without going through council and getting it modified, so.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's better to include it here, because otherwise it can come and go at the whim of a staff person.
Right. Okay. All right. Next.
Determine the verity of taxes? What is verity?
Verified. Did you turn,
The truth.
oh, verity, okay.
Yeah.
Not the variety.
Veracity? No.
Yeah, verity?
Very correct, it's a weird word to use, but
So let's go to the synonym list and come up with one of those, yeah.
Yes, verity
As
is
in
a formal
true
noun.
agreement.
Quality of being true.
Huh.
All right.
I didn't add it, just.
You weren't showing your college
like,
degree right there.
Right, I just looked this one.
True.
I know a lot of words,
True.
but that one is not, I mean, obviously it's got the Latin root, so it, you know, it means truth or something like that.
Verify, verity.
I would say determine the accuracy of the word,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah,
I don't have a super beat with it, very.
I don't like verity.
You don't like Verity?
No.
If everybody in the room had to look it up, there's probably an indication we
Yeah,
could come up with. a
That's what
different
I'm
word.
saying,
We
like,
were-
if I don't know it,
Did just say
I know a
clarity.
lot of words. Okay,
Okay.
audit,
I know a lot of words too, but most of them are song lyrics and they're not particularly helpful.
Can you name a song with Verity in it?
verity, we roll along.
There we go.
It's very.
I think accurate is probably the least offensive substitute,
Yeah.
even though it's not quite.
So how do you spell money?
Well, and the Department of Revenue uses accurate
No, they spell it
in most of their
M-O-N-I-E-S.
stuff, so.
That's correct.
Money is plural.
Oh,
Yeah, so if it's plural, it's AES. Yep.
oh. I guess I
But
did
money
not
is
know
kind
that.
of a plural thing all by itself too.
Yeah. And I guess I would have just said use the tax money.
Sorry.
I would say use the tax revenue rather than money.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you
When in
go.
doubt, pick a different word.
Word. I do that a lot. I really do. I'm like, oh. Yeah, I just spell something. What's another word I could use? Okay. So, okay.
So these A, B, and C are pretty in stone, we're not.
Right.
Yeah.
not messing
Yeah,
with
because
it.
that was passed by the electorate. We can't really
Yeah.
change that, correct?
Yep, agreed.
Without getting in trouble.
From
This
MCA.
formatting is driving me crazy. Why does it do that?
It's live updating on my phone.
But yeah,
It's super annoying.
yeah, well, it's something to do with like Drive,
Sorry.
Google Drive is
iPad,
kind of
so
weird
you don't have to
versus
look at it.
Word. Yeah.
So the formatting needs to be completely redone, but I didn't figure it was worth redoing the formatting until we had come up with what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
But the formatting, there's all different kinds of formatting and different bullet points used in the document. And it was clearly put together a little bit randomly. So,
Like,
and on a,
So, I
Like
think what I
this
hear
right
is override your OCD, we're changing content, the formatting can be a separate exercise.
Okay.
That-
You can take it home and go for it.
yeah, and we will let you do the entire thing. Yes.
Okay, I'll do that later then.
Are,
All right,
is your
where,
spice rack alphabetically or by height of the bottles or expiration date?
wait, what?
Your spice rack,
Oh,
is by height of the bottles alphabetically or expiration date?
none of the above. It's by, dish cooking, like, you know, thyme, parsley, rosemary, all kind of go.
And then the
Ginger,
Ginger,
cardamom,
clove,
yeah,
according
cloves.
to lyrics. Parsley,
So-
sage, rosemary, thyme, obviously.
We had talked about, looking up, past interpretations to make sure that we are incorporating those into this as well. So do you have, or does Danae have a file of those?
We do,
can-
and I thought they were sent over, but if nobody is remembering getting those, I
Okay,
will take that as an action item to
Okay.
make sure.
and then we'll just make sure they're in there as well, so.
Where would that, can I just make a note under wherever that's supposed to go? so you don't
It
forget
was
about
down here under mayor, the interpretation thing where the mayor can interpret if there's any questions.
Oh, okay.
And I guess just make a note there that we're gonna get what has been interpreted in the past to make sure that we are incorporating it.
We can't pretend we don't know those are not gonna come up because they have come up.
Right. So,
And be prepared for precedent to be completely contradictory and that.
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't
Well, I-
know that it necessarily is, surprisingly. At least not as much as you might be afraid.
Sorry.
We'll see.
Well, and it might be just that, in terms of, again, it wouldn't be part of the ordinance, but maybe we can put together a frequently asked questions, and, and it might say, does a nonprofit that, sells T-shirts on a daily basis have to collect the resort tax? Yes. So some of those kinds of things,
If you have a
Our-
gift shop in your nonprofit, you have to collect resort tax.
Yes. Yeah, so we could create this kind of FAQs based on that, and again, that could just be posted on the website, just to condense things that are questions. And I'm sure there's stuff from 25 years ago that we don't need to include in the FAQs because they don't make sense anymore, but other things might.
So who do we need to give those to? Do we just need to give them to Tom, or am I giving them to Tom and Jeremy, Tom and Jody?
I would
don't
love
wanna-
I would love for someone, I mean, honestly, you know what I would love to have happen, Dave, just is if the staff could put those two FAQs together in a summary and then we could review them. If that's not possible, then one of us would probably have to do it.
So who is the one of us that you would like me to send it to?
This is a stack of stuff. I could summarize it into
To Jeremy?
points of confusion and,
Yeah.
It's not as many, I
Summarize
think
it.
there's
Yeah.
less than a dozen total. It really isn't,
Okay.
it really isn't a lot.
Yeah, and
That'd
then
be
you could,
interesting.
yeah, and then we can, you can bring it to the meeting and then we can decide if we actually need to change the ordinance to reflect that or if it's just a frequently asked question type thing.
Or a one-off interpretation that we've since fixed and is better now, or whatever.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
And then, also maybe Danae and Lonnie are going to be able to tell us, here's the kind of questions we get, right? So that, we can add that in too, just, stuff that they may know the answer of it, but that if they get a question frequently, let's try to, let's get that in the FAQ just to make their life a little easier.
That'd be good.
Okay, so now this is the appeals where, the waiver of the penalty based on payment history approved by the mayor rather than having to go to council. A one-time waiver. I mean, if
Could we
it's,
just add at the bottom, like, at the discretion of the mayor, a one-time waiver, maybe, something along those lines? Like,
I would say, at the discretion of staff with approval by the mayor, maybe, so that
Okay.
they're
Oh,
making
yeah,
that
that- yeah,
decision and
yeah.
then the mayor signs off.
yeah, I mean, we don't, there has to be some criteria, like it's your first time or it's you've always paid on time and all of a sudden this happens, you totally.
I think if you make it at the discretion and you say it's a one-time waiver, then I
Yeah.
think maybe that's helpful. I think if you start to try to put too much in there, it's really then there's going to be this case where, we'll just end up back where we are again. But I think if you say it's a one-time waiver, I mean, who hasn't paid their IRS taxes late once?
Yeah.
Well, if you
Maybe
haven't, or 2 or 3 times, but the reality is it happens. And I've been late with, late with my resort taxes. I probably, if you go over the 25 years, I guarantee you I paid them a day or two late at least twice. Now, they've never charged me the penalty on it because you come in and you're like, oh God, I meant to come on Friday and it's Monday, So there has to
Yeah.
be some flexibility there, you know?
We aren't the IRS.
And I remember your input the last time we had this conversation when there was a percentage is what it was based on. Your concern was if I only have $35, I'm just gonna owe it to you in perpetuity because 1% of it isn't that big of a deal. And that was that's how we got to having large fines is my recollection.
Well,
Yeah,
and
and
it
the fines
is
are
a
discussed later.
Yeah, it is a 30, and 60 day. I mean, you have 30 days. You're not gonna get a fine until you're 30 days late. You're gonna start accruing interest right away, but you're not gonna get a fine.
But we also don't call and tell you you've missed it
Right.
until you've got the first one, and we don't tell you that, you know, so. But we also don't want to increase the burden on staff to do that. And
Right.
that's one of the problems we have right now is we're increasing the burden on council and potentially staff, if staff is there to offer a recommendation or an input
Yeah, I mean, we have 2 of them tomorrow night,
Thursday night.
Yeah, I think just,
Thursday night, yeah.
But
2 appeals.
There's a lot of time being spent on something that probably is not in the best interest of the
One
community.
of them's like a $30 worth of resort tax, and she's got a $750 penalty. I'm
Yeah,
like,
we want to be careful. I did notice, I mentioned this to Dave, that in the,
Yeah, and I got that, but we didn't have any PII, personal identifying information in there. We just talked about it conceptually.
yeah,
So,
so we,
Tom had written that we have a closed meeting coming up, but in the last meeting, we talked about it in somewhat level of detail, and that's a public meeting and it's out there. But I don't think there was any names.
no,
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 okay,
there's no.
yeah.
And there's 2 different people that are,
Yeah.
there's 2 cases.
So what we're discussing is a situation, not
Right,
individuals.
yeah, exactly,
But I did get that and I appreciate it. Thank you. If I didn't send back real time to that text
yes.
or
No, that's
voicemail.
fine.
I think we could probably get rid of the rather than,
Of the what?
having to go to council. Just say.
Just get
at
rid
the
of that whole
discretion
thing?
of the approval of mayor, one-time waiver may be granted, period.
Okay,
Yeah, okay, yeah, serious.
you okay with that?
Yeah, and by the way, I think having that draft document is something that should come to the meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, I would like that for sure.
I have asked them for the staff recommendation as well. I don't have it yet. But my understanding is we were gonna have that going into Thursday and I hadn't seen it yet. But this would be a recommendation from the Resort Tax Committee, so.
I feel like that sentence definitely provides the short circuit for cutting out the nonsense.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is our 3rd one.
Not
Yeah.
nonsense, but the insignificant.
I mean, everybody has
Not impactful.
everybody has a right to appeal a decision,
Right.
but they're not even appealing it, they're just coming to us and saying, will you waive this? And it should have been, to me, council should be, the mayor should say yes or no, and then if they don't like it, then they can appeal to council. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's kind of this one-time waiver
Yeah,
that way.
so, rather than
Yeah.
they have to go to council right away.
Well, and even staff could say, this is $30, come on.
Yeah.
Right?
But they can't right now.
Yeah, but they,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
I think
that's-
that this
Yeah,
covers that.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Resort Tax Committee, 6-member appointed committee consisting of with representatives from non-retail businesses, retail businesses, and residents.
Yeah.
I mean, is that true of our, I guess that is true, right?
Yep.
I feel like there was some language in there that was,
The one part that I thought was
Repetitive.
confusing is we say vote with representatives from Red Lodge, non-retail, and residents, but then it says there's
You have to be a resident of Carbon County.
of Carbon County. Okay, that was just the part that I was like, it's not a
Yeah.
resident, because it says representatives from Red Lodge, but then residents of Carbon County just seemed a little confusing.
I feel like we can just say, Carbon County registered voters and leave it at that.
well, we don't want, I would want 8 people, I wouldn't want 6 people from the county and no one from the city, though.
So we pick who they are, like who, down below it says who they have to be, Shell Point
It just says members
Two
may
members
be
and one member of the
non-resident
city
of,
council.
yeah,
Oh.
up to two, maybe
But it's,
non-resident.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's later defined better,
Okay.
so.
Can I delete that then?
Can I ask a tangential question here?
Uh-huh.
You're not here as a council member, you're here as an appointed.
Mhm.
Right.
So I don't need to do anything special in January. You're here for whatever.
I'm here
Yeah.
until, I think my term ends February of 2025, but I would like to be appointed and I'll write a letter. Or whatever, re-up. I'll re-up.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure if I need to do something sooner.
Nope,
No,
Jody's
that
the,
would be me.
yeah. So is everybody okay if I, that highlighted blue, if I just axe that?
Charlotte County agreed?
Yeah. Because it basically says everybody.
I don't have preference there. I guess.
Well, except that down below, we don't say anything about people that own businesses or whatnot.
But they say up here that non-retail business, retail businesses, and residents, so
Yeah,
that's
it's-
everybody.
It's okay,
Yeah.
everybody. That's
Yeah.
why I'm just like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is, omit extraneous words is my
Yep.
journalism professor.
Not that
Mantra.
there's nothing more to add when there's nothing more to take away.
Yeah.
So on number 4, on the youth, I've always hated this verbiage.
Which one?
Making recommendations regarding expenditures to elected officials by collecting, it should just be by collecting, or by systematically collecting public feedback prior to the blah, blah, blah.
By
Having
systematically,
collecting and collected is just, that's always grated on me.
let's get rid of it then, Jeremy. Does that feel like better?
So that basically says we're supposed to get public feedback every year. Right, that's,
Well, by holding our public meetings, there's kind of that,
okay,
there's that a little bit.
okay.
Yeah, that's,
Does this need to be bigger now again?
whatever reason, it's not updating on my phone anymore.
Bonding and collection, any changes there?
Didn't see anything.
Is there? Oh, we discussed changing this.
Changing which one?
Oh, it was
Tom,
it was in the minutes that I sent over. We were gonna change it, let me pull up those minutes. Oh. Sorry. We were going to change it to,
Is it necessary?
I didn't think there was any real, I tried to parse out how we were gonna change that bonding and collection thing, but it was not very clear to me.
yeah,
Um,
we written to clarify, any new business, we were gonna reword it to deposit.
Yeah.
And then we were going to say that that deposit could be in the form of $500 cash, $500 revocable letter, or $500 bond. Because you don't have to get a bond, and basically what that's saying is that you get a bond.
yeah,
There's other ways to do it, and,
Yeah, you need a deposit, here's some forms of.
yeah.
But do we need the deposit, is what I'm asking? Like, is that necessary?
If you don't have a
That-
bond, you have to pay a $500 deposit.
Right. Is
that was
necessary?
part of our conversation, which
Because
is,
we've never
do-
used it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
we-
that's really onerous, and if someone's starting up a new business and then all of a sudden you gotta pay $500 that you're gonna hold
You
for
do.
a year?
You do.
No, no,
That's what we do.
I know, that's what I'm
understand that
saying, is
it's
that
there, but
necessary?
The question that Tom is asking and Chris is echoing in on is, if we have never had to fall back on that, is it really providing a value? Or are we adding a burden without a value?
Yeah, it feels like a staff burden to me
No.
and a burden to the
Well,
business.
Or is it doing its job?
It
Yeah.
is doing its job, because
Yeah.
it
Good point.
really came out of the fact that, and for temporary vendors especially, they come in for the weekend, they pay $500 cash, And they'll for sure come in with their resort tax if it's
Less.
under the $500.
Gotcha, okay.
So, and if a small business goes out of business and they can't pay the resort tax, you'll have at least that $500 bond
Makes
to
sense,
fall back on.
answers my question, thank you.
So, yeah.
Smart.
Because then then the staff would be spending their time trying to collect that, so.
I,
yeah,
honestly, I
okay.
didn't think they should give it back. I thought it should just be there till they're out of business and then they get it back, but they give it back after a year of paying, as long as the business
What
pays
if the
on
city
time.
goes out of business then?
Then we have real
Well, then we have other problems.
We really do, yeah,
Problems.
but. So,
So are we leaving that one for now, or are we?
Yeah, I think so.
so you don't wanna change it to deposit instead of,
Hey, I'm gonna have to run.
okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Tom.
Make up for getting here late?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
it.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
See you,
thank you.
Tom.
I guess we could just leave it for right now and we can revisit it, you know?
Yeah, and if you have a suggestion for how it should be rewritten, then I guess I.
We had just talked about at our last meeting, changing it to a deposit instead of, bonding and collection, it would just be like, a deposit.
What's the difference, I mean, other than the semantics?
Bonding means that you actually go,
I pay you $20 to cover for me, but you put the 500 in.
yeah,
So it must
And-
provide a deposit, so you're just saying to replace the word bond with deposit, must
Right,
provide a
because
deposit
Yeah.
in
if
the
you-
amount, okay, I'm fine with
nobody
that.
gets a bond because it costs $100 to get a $500 bond.
And
You don't
won't
get your $100,
$100
you don't get your $100 back.
Okay,
And then if the bond pays on your behalf, the $500, the bonding company is gonna come back after you and ask for $500. So it's just stupid to get a bond, just pay the $500.
then I would be in favor of changing out the deposit then.
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead and change it.
I mean, that's, and the only place that was
And
selling
then
those
it's
bonds was
repeated,
State Farm.
it's
Nobody
repeated
else
in the
would sell them.
second
They're like,
paragraph.
"Oh, no."
The bond, cash, or letter of credit, so just, should we just say,
I mean, yeah, you could get a revocable letter from your bank of $500, which I don't know who would do that. I'm like,
bond shall
That
be-
just means they're holding.
So,
the 500.
Yeah.
how do we,
yeah,
so we're just gonna replace every
Replace it.
instance of the word bond with deposit? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's repeated
What
several
about
times.
this?
yeah.
The
Well,
bond shall be
that's-
issued by, do we get rid of this?
Well, I mean, they could still go get a bond if they want, but, I mean, it's just,
So a deposit or a bond?
yeah. I mean, the deposit can be in the form of a surety bond, I guess you could say.
Deposit or?
It could be in the form of a cash deposit, revocable, $500 revocable letter, or a $500 surety bond.
Oh, that's in the next one.
Right. Yep. Yeah, just change it right there. It's fine to have bonding and collection, I guess, and just put, let's provide a deposit or a bond, or a revocable letter, I guess.
Deposit, bond, or revocable letter?
Yeah. Now, down below, we have irrevocable.
Bond,
You're the banking person, you just have to put in a
I'm
revocable.
marketing.
And then your revocable letter.
Marketing. Let's be real.
We gotta make sure we have the right,
Yeah.
the right term in there, because they do mean different things.
Yeah, irrevocable.
Okay, so. The attorney, the prior attorney reviewed this, so I would think they would, hopefully they got it. No comment.
so. So $500 cash or just $500 deposit?
Cash.
Cash. Because they can pay by credit card, right?
Well, then it's we don't usually, do you take credit cards for that?
No,
No,
you just
they,
add the fee.
There'd be an additional 3%
Yeah,
on
I think
that.
that's what we did, is we paid by credit
Okay.
card, because at the time, that's what I had.
just
paid.
put $500. I know that with the, short-term rentals, they will only take cash. We will not take a check. We will only take cash. Not short-term rentals, I'm sorry, the, temporary vendors. Folks get me. Because they don't want them to put a stop payment on the check or tell the credit card companies to reject the charge or,
Or just write a lousy check and make a bunch of money and give it out.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
I guess, yeah, and I would say that deposit and cash are not necessarily the same word. This might be something we want to have an attorney look at because it's beyond me, but I feel like we're saying a lot of the same things in those two paragraphs. And cash and deposit are not the same, so.
Right,
No, cash is one form of making
Yeah.
a deposit versus.
right, exactly.
That's why I'm saying, deposit, because cash can be a deposit
Mhm.
as,
And in fairness, some people consider a check as cash. when
Yeah.
doing it.
Right.
But in this instance, the bond, deposit, or letter of credit must remain in effect. Wouldn't it just be, would you just say the deposit must remain in effect? Because if it's.
Yeah.
That's where
For
it's
1
getting
year,
confused,
yeah.
because we have
yeah,
all
it
these
seems
different, yeah.
extraneous.
You don't have to mention every form.
The
Yeah,
deposit
right.
shall be held for 1 year.
Yeah.
Yes,
Shall be held for 1 full year.
yes.
Yeah, rather than remain in
Yeah.
effect. It shall be held for 1 year.
Deposit.
And here I was, I said I didn't have any comments on that section.
They're good comments, though. They're good comments. Okay.
And so every new business subject to resort term must provide a bond for 1 year. This
No.
is confusing.
They must, see
They
that?
must provide a deposit which will be held for 1, yeah, they must provide
Reserve must
deposit which will
provide.
be held for 1 year.
The deposit or
Must
bond?
provide a deposit in form of blah, 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 which will be held for 1 year.
Yeah.
Must
But the
provide
bond
a
itself, because you can buy a surety bond in different years.
Up
I
here, say
think-
which will be held for,
So the surety, if they do a surety bond, it has to be,
For a year.
for 1 year, for a 1 year term,
So,
instead of a 3-year term or a 5-year term.
so can I get rid of this then? Well, can we get rid of this, all this?
well, yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at, like, every new business shall abide by what we just said.
So every business subject to resort tax must provide a deposit, bond, or equivalent letter in the amount of $500 payable to the city to ensure its compliance with the city, comma, which will be held for 1 year. The bond shall be issued by a surety.
Did you delete it, or did you just do a strike through?
So, bond, well, whoops, I don't want that. Alternatively, any business may post a $500 or. Yeah, do we need this?
I don't, like, that's where I kept getting confused, because it was just
Yeah.
like, it seemed repetitive.
What,
The new business part,
the bond,
oh, the bond cash letter. No, we already said that, right?
that's what I'm
I think we
saying,
do
and
say-
then,
Yeah, I think we can
Yeah,
leave it.
strike that out,
okay.
because they don't all have to do,
Any
Other-
business may post. I feel like,
I would just say every new business subject to the resort tax must provide,
every
Deposit.
new business?
yes,
kind
Okay,
of apply that.
yeah, because once you're,
You're a business and you're covered by every business, so I would almost just get rid of every new.
well, I would say any new business that collects resort tax,
But,
Sure.
okay, so
because not all businesses collect resort tax.
we're kind of
Well, why don't we-
contradicting ourselves. Why would we start out by saying every new business? Because then if someone read this, then old businesses don't have to do taxes
right.
No, it's just for
for the
the,
bond.
for the
Yeah.
bond, yeah,
Okay.
I already got my
Okay.
$500, I got my $500 check back.
Okay.
But is it just redundant to even have this every new business's line in there? Since we already say every business subject to resort tax must provide that. So once you become a business, you become subject to.
I think you have to say every new business that collects resort tax, because those are, I mean, that's specific to them, but maybe not, I don't know.
Okay.
Mike?
But why the new business part, I guess is my question, because we already just said every business.
But not every business has to have $500 on hand. You get it back after 1 year.
Right,
Every business with less than a 1-year track record or,
yeah, I don't have it anymore, but once it's been a year, you get it back, and you're no longer required to have that.
Yeah, right.
So it's not every business, it's just new businesses that come in and get their business license, they're brand new,
Right.
and they need to collect resort tax, here's what you have to do.
Right, and at that point, every business subject to must provide a bond, or must provide a bond.
and it's way for businesses that's been in business for more than a year.
Doesn't matter. We already said it's good for a year. If you're a new business, your bond's for a year. Why do we need that?
Can you read what I just changed this to? So basically, we're saying in the first paragraph, every new business that collects resort tax must provide a deposit, bond, or irrevocable letter in the amount of $500 payable to the city to ensure its compliance with the city's resort tax. I feel like this with, for 1 year should go up by what it's modifying.
Oh, we already got
I guess it does really just belong there, never mind. And then the bond shall be issued, and then the irrevocable letter of credit.
Institution for the same purposes.
And should that be capitalized as it is down here? Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay,
and then if it's business, yeah, that makes sense.
okay.
You already had strike through what I was talking about, so.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
I'm like, if a business changes ownership in any fashion, the new owner shall comply with section A. So they have to go in and do it all over again, they have to pay the new bond or new deposit, I guess. Yep, shall revoke the bond, shall revoke the deposit, just say the deposit.
Just to revoke the deposit?
Because are we saying that all those other things are deposits
Yeah.
too? Or are we?
That's how I would read it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure an attorney would be like, no, you have to list every possible.
I know.
And yeah, it's not gonna get, attorneys are paid by the city.
I know.
Well, that's my problem with attorneys, is they try to confuse things. Like, just say it in simple language, like, what do you mean? Instead of putting all those
I know.
words in
We
there.
had something that will require an attorney to
It's
translate.
like,
Yes.
it's like an
Like a-
insurance policy, here,
like
we
a-
give you all this coverages, and now here's all your exclusions where we take it all away again.
Good public attorney, should be clarity. Okay.
Business, uh-oh,
Can we move into the penalties?
low battery.
See, we
You
gotta
guys
move on.
wanna-
Move to penalties.
Well, I've got
Wanna
to be somewhere
call
at
it
7.
today?
Yeah, I gotta go at
so-
7 too.
I know.
We could adjourn and just
Yeah.
continue our
Yeah.
discussion,
Okay, so this is, we don't have much left.
or we could speed through it, yeah.
Okay.
But-
Go, Chris.
We got,
Before your battery
I can't
dies.
get my, yeah, I
I
can't
have
get
mine, I
the-
still have mine up, but I'm not sharing, but, so if we, I can make edits if we need to, but, I didn't have any issues. The only, I will say, and I marked it in here so people can see it, but with Tom's changes, there was just like a little typo.
Which one?
A30.
Yeah,
A,
yeah, so he had A30 from, so I put have 30 days from.
Right.
I just made that correction, but the rest of it I thought read fine.
Yeah, no, Lonnie had Lonnie, staff had a question on that, because it made it sound like the city had to send out notice, and then they have 30 days to make the payment, and that's not the way it goes before they get the penalty. It's like at 30 days, they get a penalty, and that's their notice that they're late right now.
I believe that's correct.
So
We don't,
if-
we don't
what Tom put
say,
in.
hey, where's your tax until we
Right.
get paid for doing so.
Yeah, so that's, the staff wanted clarification, because I think the way it was written, or had been changed, it made it sound like, we'll send that notification, and then you get 30 days to pay it, and that's not
When is the next meeting of this group?
January, but it's always the third Tuesday,
Of January?
yeah.
So, because I mean, that's it's almost, Jody, the way he changed it doesn't change the meaning from the way it was initially written.
Okay, because I was just going by what staff had commented
And maybe we
on
can
that.
have them clarify, because his edits didn't change the way it was initially written.
Okay.
At least that was my,
30 days, see, but he added from when notified by the city.
is a business that
When
fails
you shall have
Oh,
a
yeah,
30
from
days.
when notified, no.
No.
shall have 30 days.
From due date. So actually, when notified from the city shouldn't be in there at all.
Okay, so from,
See, Tom had added from when notified by the city, and staff was like, we don't do that.
Right, okay. Well, then I guess the question is, are they saying that we want it to be that?
I know.
I think staff would resist and say you're giving us a burden to do that.
Well, I mean, IRS does not notify me that my quarterlies
Okay.
are due.
so we want to
And
pay a
they
business
notify
that
me
fails
after the fact, and I
to
haven't
file
paid
a
them,
report,
with a big old penalty.
file a report, resort taxes when due shall have
30 days from the end of the quarter,
from
or what?
due date. I like due date better. I think that's
Yeah,
Yeah,
from due date.
when due, shall,
a 30-day grace period from due date.
Well, that's what it.
That's what it says. So shall have 30 days from due date. Right? Is that what we wanted to say?
Shall have for what?
okay, so all delinquent tax, immediately they have to start paying the daily 19% interest. But
Okay.
the penalty for the failure to report and the failure to remit, it said it right. It's just a business that fails to file a report, resort taxes when due shall have a 30-day grace period.
Okay,
However, that same spot that says grace period needs to state interest will be accruing during that grace period.
It
Like-
does.
Like not even a comma, it just needs to be right there, yeah.
All delinquent taxes shall be subject to, that's A, this is B. A says you get it, yeah, and it's right like that on the form.
Yep.
So you can
I have
add
to
it,
go.
assess daily
Sorry.
I'm
the
gonna
day
see what I
after
can
it's
do.
due.
Yeah. Prorated or from the date, or accrued from the day it was due.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how, okay, so first, a business that fails to file or report resort taxes when due shall have a 30-day grace period, which is exactly what was written before, so we
Right,
just
we're not
basically
changing.
rejected its changes, okay.
Yeah, because the staff does not notify them of that.
And they'll never get rid of the rest of the changes, because they were all.
I'd say we can take it up from here for next time,
Yeah.
and I'll just make a note, that this is where we stopped.
Is it 7?
7:01 even.
I know. Thank you guys so much.
December meeting.
Hope you feel better.
Yeah,